To be honest, tune in. Is the pod going up? To be honest, sit down, we need to have a talk. Cornelius gon' make a point that the others don't. The mother souls sound the same, come escape the box. Expand your mind, dig into no controversial topics. He ain't scared to keep it real. Tune into this podcast, but don't be in your feelings. We gon' have a laugh, we gon' talk about some pain. Let's talk about the present situation of today. Yeah. To be honest, is this the podcast? I need to tune in right now.
Hey, what's up, y'all, man? This is your boy Cornelius Lindsey, and I am super excited to right now, man, to be able to do this, man. This is To Be Honest, yo, and I got one of my boys, one of my homies, as my first guest. You already know this cat. If you don't, you need to know him. Dee-1. Yo, man, what's up, bro?
Doing well, brother. I'm extremely. I don't know if you can see me, but I'm so excited to be on your show. You deserve this, your platform, and I see my man continuing to expand his territory, bro. I'm proud of you.
Man, I appreciate that, man. I think it's been, what, 4 years that we've known each other? 3 years, 4 years since we know each other?
2016. I remember vividly. I was in ATL recording this album called Slingshot David. So 2016. That's gone on 5 years, bro.
Yep, 5 years, man. I remember Slingshot David. Slingshot David, man, it was hot in our team ministry, man. We wore that song out. Or we wore the whole album out, I should say. Man. You made some really dope music throughout the years, man. What has been your inspiration?
My inspiration behind the music I make is I found my slingshot, just like David found his slingshot in the Bible, and he was able to use it to defeat Goliath. There's so many Goliaths in this world we live in, man, between racism, poverty, anxiety, depression, violence of all kinds, all these Goliaths in this world. And I realized that, man, with this microphone and with making words rhyme, I'm able to defeat some of the Goliaths in this world. So I use music to minister to people and to be therapy for people.
Wow. Now, you've done some amazing things already in your life. I mean, NAACP award, appointed by the governor to a whole new position. It's like, okay, what is it? What is the motivation behind this? And what is the most pressing matter on your heart? Like with NAACP award, being acknowledged by the governor of Louisiana, like what is the most pressing matter of your heart right now in the crazy and chaotic world we live in?
Yeah, so I have a song titled "Love Always Wins." So as I win awards or I get recognized for the work I'm doing, the most pressing matter on my heart is just to always lead with love. And winning these awards opens me up to new circles. Being able to sit at a table with the governor of Louisiana, it opens me up to circles that I never would have imagined I was getting into when I was just a little, rascal growing up in the Ninth Ward of New Orleans, not knowing how my life would turn out. So now that I'm in these rooms, I have intellect, but what's most important to lead with love, because love has always been the language that I've been able to use to communicate with people in different circles. And leading with love allows people to put their walls down. And once people's walls are down, I think effective communication can occur. So right now, I'm wanting to be solution oriented. Like you said, it's a crazy time in the world that we're living in. And we hear about the problems. We see the problems every single day. We don't have to look far or hard to see these problems in the world, but being solution oriented. And there's no cookie cutter solution. You have to take every situation, every individual that you're dealing with, and you have to say, what solution is best for this person or for this situation or for this room that I'm in? So every day is hard work, man. I just finished, today been a heck of a day. Like, you hop on a podcast with your homie and you're showing up now. 10 minutes ago, man, I was sitting here, I had tears in my eyes because of some situations that's going through off the mic. And then after this, I get to go and be a blessing to some other people with a drop off that I have to make, with some gifts and some resources for some people I have. It's like life is a whole bunch of this stuff, man, ups and downs, but God has equipped me for this journey. So, I'm just here till I'm not.
Let me ask you this, D. So God's equipped you for the journey. You got a lot of stuff going on right now in your life, man. But what is that like? What is that thing that's like pressing in on you? Because I mean, I know you and I we've had conversations before about just the state of black men in America, like where we are right now. We've had conversations before about mental health. We've had conversations before about black fatherhood, family, all kind of stuff. And I think that it's still prevalent. I think it's still a conversation to have. Have in your life's work that you've done thus far, have you seen any of those things to be a prevalent issue that you've constantly had to come back to? And if you have, what are some of those present solutions that you've already made in order to move past that, in order to find a solution and a pathway forward?
But let's take them one at a time. As far as fatherhood, I'm blessed that I do have my pops in my life, and I knew at an early age, like I said, growing up in the Ninth Ward of New Orleans and going to the schools I went to, or just playing on the sports teams I played on, I saw how rare it was to have uh, a healthy relationship with my pops. Although
Hmm.
he's not perfect, he was always present. There's a difference between perfection and presence, and his presence made a big difference in my life. So now, as I grow older and I'm seeing people who haven't had that consistent presence of a father in their lives, I've started to see, I started to see that you can be a father figure, and a village and a community can essentially come together to ensure the positive upbringing of young men and women, even if their birth fathers aren't present in their lives. So that comes through um, teachers who really care. That comes through
Hmm.
coaches. That comes through pastors and youth leaders who really care about these students. And that also comes through public figures who have a platform that the youth is paying attention to. Because if the youth is paying attention to your music, then you need to give a crap about what you're talking about in your music. You don't need to say, "Oh, that's not my job to raise your kids." It's like, I know the role that music for example, plays in bringing up uh, students and bringing up children. Outside of that, as far as mental health, man, I didn't know it until I went through it myself. Because I never dealt with any big mental health issues growing up. But it wasn't until a few years ago, this a little bit, a couple years before I met you, 2014 and 15 to be specific. I dealt with real life depression for the first time. And man, I'm like, that's impossible. I didn't seen too much, went through too much as a child. That didn't break me. No way. I'm successful now. Like, no way I'm gonna deal with that stuff. But man, I guess it was that cockiness that came back to bite me. So I dealt with real life depression, being in the entertainment industry and just feeling like I was being two-faced in a lot of ways. People knowing me on camera for being one way or hearing my music and seeing one version of me, but knowing that I'm falling short off the microphone, feeling like uh, definition of success, it's so elusive because, man, I think I'm doing well. I've been grinding all this time and I'm reaching people and I see, things growing, and people telling me my whole movement is impacting them, but it seemed like I could never quite just hit that bullseye of what everybody feels like success is, and I felt like, dang, I'm not as big as this artist, or dang, I'm not known by these fans or not appreciated by people in my city as much as I feel like I should be. And, going through those type of things leads to you always feeling inadequate and feeling like you're not good enough. And yeah, man, stuff, that stuff is one thing to sit in your room and go through these thoughts. But it's another thing to be like, dang, I'm going through all this and I gotta be on camera every day. So I gotta fake this smile. I gotta do this performance. And they counting on me during this performance or during this speaking engagement, you heard me, or during me even ministering to pour into them. And I'm like, bro, if y'all only knew how empty I was feeling right now, so that was a tough time, man. So yeah, so I think that the more that we go through, the more we the more we have compassion for individuals who haven't yet gone through something or who may still be going through something, when it's like, I have really been there. Like I used to think depression was for weak people. You know what I mean? Like depression, like, man, what you mean, man? We come up, we hear gunshots every night. Like we good with that, and we still make it, and we able to have joy. Like, what you mean depression? But then you start to understand, man, life will teach you some lessons. Think that you know everything.
Let me ask you this, D. So, I mean, I empathize with everything you're talking about. I mean, you know that we've had them conversations about having to go on the stage. You got to be this one person in front of everybody else. When you get off the stage, like, I'm ruined, man. I get up on a Sunday morning, I preach my guts out, and then people leave encouraged. They leave happy. I go home, and on Monday, like, I'm suicidal for most of the day. People don't see that. Like, I'm so empty, and I'm trying to pour out. People that come and they be like, "Oh, well, that just means you need to be poured into. You need to be poured into." But the same people who say that are the same people who are like, "Yo, but I want all your time so I can take from it." You know what I mean? So let me ask you this, D1. So, through that whole thing of how you were feeling, like, what were some of the things that you were doing? Like, what were some ways that you were trying to cope to get out of? What were some steps that you took? Were there some practical things that you were like, okay, this I can do to help me out today, that I can be better today so I won't feel this way today?
Yeah, so I can tell you some of the unhealthy things I did. I turned to women, you know what I'm saying? Like being unmarried and being I ain't the cutest person in the world, but I ain't the ugliest either. So being a not
Doggone, D.
being a not ugly person and being and having the ability to say like, hey, this is, this this nurturing, vibe that a lot of women have and can naturally like pour into you, that feels good as a man, but it always leads to other things that you're not supposed to be involved in, and then you just end up being like, well, hey, whatever, I'm not even, I'm coping. Since I'm coping, I'm indulging in behaviors I know I shouldn't be. Like that's one thing I know I definitely turned to. Outside of that stuff, I mean, you mentioned being suicidal, man. Like it pains me to say that I actually got to that point at one time to where I seriously started to contemplate that, and taking, the thought of taking my own life, actually putting some real thought into it and into how, and like actually mapping out a plan, and I call it an escape route because it was just like, I just want to escape, from here, from what I'm going through. So I turned to those things. That's on the negative side. On the positive side, eventually I found my way into opening up to what's the use of having all these friends and these phone numbers. Y'all call each other brothers and y'all love each other if you're not going to actually have the courage to reach out to them when you need somebody to talk to. So I actually started to reach out to certain people that I felt like I could trust, even with my mess that I felt like I was at the time. Like, man, I'm just a big ball of mess right now, and who can I, share this with? And in doing that, I was referred to therapy. So for the first time in life, went to therapy, and that was something that I was really, really on the fence about at first, but then it ended up being really healthy. So that was cool. So that's something that I turned to by opening up to the right friends, who turned me on to saying, hey, I don't even have all the answers for you, David, but I know what helped me when I was going through the same thing. And I'm like, what you mean when you were going through the same thing? And they're like, man, I've been going through that type of stuff. I've been there. And then you start to realize, oh, okay, I'm not the only one, like really, like other people are going through these things, people who I know, like I don't feel as bad at this point. And it's because, this right here, this cell phone that we keep attached to our hips all day, it gives us a constant update into other people's lives. And all people post on social media is basically a highlight film. You know, I'm an athlete. So when you're trying to get recruited by a D1 college, you know, you put together a highlight reel. That's all of your dopest plays, like all of your plays where you hit 3-pointers, you dunked on somebody, you just had some amazing highlights. And that's what Instagram and Facebook and social media feels like. So when you're thinking about what's going wrong in your life, and then you get on these apps and you look and you're just like, here's what's going right. And everybody else is like, that stuff didn't help. So I learned how to divorce my social media accounts and disconnect in a real way from my social media accounts. And you know, as far as on the spiritual end, as far as me just getting back to how I define success. So I remember redefining success. And I think some people do this as a cop out. Some people, they want to stop working hard for whatever their goals are. So they'll lower the bar. You know, it's like instead of trying to dunk on a 10-foot rim in basketball, you're like, man, I'm gonna have to work too hard, do too many calf exercises. That rim is high. So people will start saying, well, I'm gonna play on this other court over here to where the rim is 7 feet tall. So now I could dunk on a 7-foot rim easily. You know, I'm 6 feet tall myself. I could easily dunk on a 7-foot rim. And now, you know, we kind of pat ourselves on the back for lowering our bars. And I think that for me, I didn't lower my bar, but I did redefine success, not based on what the entertainment industry or the world sees as success, and not even based on what I had come to see success as. But I did get back spiritually to how would God most likely, you know, without me talking directly to him, based on the word and based on knowing what God values, how would God define my life in terms of, was it successful? You know, did it hit the bar in terms of fulfilling the purposes that it was designed for? And when I started to ask myself that, I really started to feel a lot better about what I was already doing and the path that God was taking me. It looked a little different from the path that I initially saw for myself. But here we are a few years later. For me to win an NAACP award and get the Power of Influence award before I win a Grammy award, in the past, I would have thought, man, that's lame. Like, ain't nobody in my hood, you know, gonna be excited about an NAACP award. Like, we trying to win Grammys, or this is what our heroes have always toted around. And I got to the point where it's like, no, man, like, I'm the only person who has won an NAACP award. You know, there's other people that's won Grammys, but as far as where I'm from and being a hip hop artist, this is actually special. This is different. And this is different to be the first hip hop artist in history to be an appointee of the governor, you know, on this success council for Black men and boys. Like, that's something to take pride in. Let me take pride in, you know, the friendships that who cares if friends with Drake or with, you know, whatever the biggest rappers are at the time. If I'm friends with Cornelius Lindsey, then that's just as valuable, because honestly, Cornelius Lindsey and we have a lot more in common. So it makes more sense. And that friendship can produce more fruit than just a random friend that's like, oh man, I was able to get Wiz Khalifa's number. I got his number in my phone and I'm gonna text him. Maybe he'll respond. Like, that stuff is lame, man. Now that I look back on some of the things that, like, some of the people that is like, and not to talk bad about any of those brothers, but some of the people who I know that's how they define success is how many big quote unquote celebrities do they know and are they cool with? And that's what's defined as success, for you to be able to tag along and just hang out with these random people who don't really, you know, care that much about you, or y'all don't even have like similar life visions, you know, and you're not able to pour into them, but and at the same time, they're not pouring into you. It's just like this total clout chasing friendship. I'm glad that I'm, you know, that I switched lanes and I'm no longer programmed like that. So, you know, spiritually redefining what success looked like in God's eyes. that really helped me as well.
You mentioned going to therapy. Bro, you a man, you Black, it's you. We don't go to therapy.
Right.
I heard you also mention, I mean, I've been, like, I promote it, you know, I advocate it now. I mean, I have a therapist organization that that sponsors me. I'm big on it now, but and when I say that's something we don't do, it was always something that I was always told, like, yo, we don't go to therapy. We look at those things, we're like, no, you need to toughen up, you need to man up, you need to deal with it. It was like you mentioned something I think really, really hit me. You said you had a brother who told you about therapy, and you were very apprehensive at first. Why were you apprehensive? And then what was it that made you say, okay, I'm gonna actually go, I'm actually go full fledged, and I'm gonna see a therapist?
Because the first thing you think about is, am I going to be judged by this person? And yeah, that's the first thing that caused that apprehension is, like, is this person, so like, am I supposed to go and really be honest with this person, or am I just kind of like honest to a certain extent with this person, honest to the point where it's still safe for me, to where my face card is still good, like this is my mindset as I'm pulling up, for the first time. Then I would say, in doing it, and in going, I already got over a big hurdle, because also it's not something that I ever associated with being like cool. It's not like, oh man, this is cool, man. Like, I'm finna go to therapy. Like, this is great. It was never associated as being cool, but redefining those norms that we grew up around now in manhood, redefining those norms, and anything that promotes your mental health is cool. Anything that helps you to not only survive, but to be able to thrive, while we're living, and anything that promotes community as opposed to isolation, I think that's what's cool. And and definitely, for me to talk to one of my friends, and for him to mention it to me, it also showed me the power of one. It didn't take a bunch of my friends to tell it to me. It just took one friend who I really revere and who I think highly of, to tell me that he goes to therapy, and he and his wife go to therapy, and he goes to therapy with his wife, and he goes individually. So at that point, it's like, oh, okay, this ain't so bad after all, because this dude who I really, look up to in a lot of ways, is telling me this. I'll go and do it. And when you have a good experience, it definitely makes you feel like, man, I should have been doing this, for real.
That's facts. Hey, bro, I felt the same way. Like, at first, I was like, yeah, I don't want to go to therapy because I don't want nobody. I don't want this. I want this person to judge me. I want this person to look at me crazy, because I think they're gonna think I'm crazy. They're gonna think I am just insane.
Mhm.
And I never forget. I sat there for the first time, dude. I sat on dude's couch. He looked at me and he was like, "So what you want to talk about?" And I was like, "I don't know. You the therapist. Like, you supposed to tell me." And he was like, "Oh," he's like, "Okay, you're gonna be one of those." He said, "Well, I'm telling you what, man." He said, you're paying me $150 an hour to sit down and look at you." He said, "So you could," he said, "it's really on you." And I started, because I hate wasting money. So I was like, "Yo, I'm paying this dude $150. I was like, yo, let's get to talking right now." And then when it started to happen, it was like, man, like you mentioned, like, this is something I wish I would have always done. And now I want to become the biggest advocate for. Because as a pastor, it was always like, in the circles that I was kind of reared in, it was always like, you need to pray your way through, God gonna take care of it, God gonna fix it. But it was like those traumatic experiences. It was those events that I couldn't get out of my head. It was the comparison game. It was a lot of practical things that I couldn't just let go of. That, when I would go to the pastors and I would say, "Yo, I've already prayed about this at the altar. They've already laid hands on me. Like, I've already gone through all of this, and I'm not saying that God ain't real. I'm not saying this stuff don't work. I'm just saying that right now I'm still in pain and I need something and somebody. And then when I started talking about therapy to pastors, to mentors and stuff like that, man, it was like, I don't know if you should be doing that right now. You need to seek the counsel of the Holy Spirit. And then the pastors would say, why don't you just come and talk to me? But then I realized something, that when I came and talked to you, everybody else knew about my business. So I'm like, I
Yeah.
don't know if I'm like, for me, because I don't know if you're a vault. Like, because some people aren't vault. Some people are not there to really retain and hold the information that they have. And some people just get real free flowing and just start just talking and just start talking to everybody. So I definitely agree with you there, man. Let me ask you this question, David. So, as we kind of bring this to a close, for those men who are out there, those men, those young guys who are listening to this, even because I get a lot of single moms. Like right now, I'm heavy on things that I'm like, yo, don't tell your young boys don't cry. Don't tell them to man up. Don't make that boy is 5 years old. I mean, I get the idea behind being the man of the house, but the problem is he's 5. He still needs to be 5. But you are placing way too much burden on him to become someone with whom he cannot be right now. He's 5. He's not mentally developed. He's not emotionally developed to be that. So what would you say to those men, those young boys, those single moms out there? What would you say to them to say, man, like, this is the process that I've been on, and this is what I believe that could really help you to either avoid that season of depression, or maybe if you're in that season right now, what you can do to be able to move forward so you can get out of that thing?
Whoa, that's a deep one. That's
I
a
know,
deep
man.
question.
That's why I got you, because I know if
Yeah.
anybody deep, it's gonna be them.
Yeah. Right. That's a real one. So I think what I would tell people who are whether it's single mothers, whether it's young men that are struggling with depression right now, it starts with truly having an accurate understanding of your identity.
Mhm.
And the world tries to project an identity on you. If you are a single mother, they try to automatically pin you as a victim, or they try to pin you as someone who maybe has messed up, and now it's your fault that you're in this situation. Same thing with a young man, especially a young Black man. The world may view you as public enemy number 1, or they may view you as a dude that's on the pipeline to prison already. And it's important to block all that out, and understand your identity. Just like the most rich, the most well-known, the most successful person in this world, whoever that may be, no matter what race they are, we're all just human beings, and they are one, just like you are one, just like I am one. And we all have the same creator. This exact same person made all of us. And the different set of circumstances that we each face in our lives doesn't affect whose we are. So we belong to God. And because we belong to God, God loves us equally and sees equal value in each of our lives.
Mhm.
So now, if you're going through something, a big part of it is how special you are, how dope you really are. Your life circumstances and your situations that you're dealing with, guess what? We all have different situations and circumstances, but we wouldn't be going through them, and we wouldn't have that particular situation or trial or difficulty or Goliath that we're facing if there wasn't a path to success. Because anywhere where there's trouble or there's darkness, you best believe that light is the only thing that can drive that out. So if God has us in a season, or if the world has us pinned down to where it seems like we're in a tough place, this is the thing. There's always that opposite force that's able to come along and knock that out. So you have to ask yourself, what's going to help me get over this? What's going to help me prosper after this? And not just prosper for the sake of myself, but prosper because when someone else is going through what I'm currently going through now, I actually have a calling, and I actually have a duty to be able to help them and to make their journey a little bit easier. Just like people paved the way for us to make our paths a little bit easier in life, like the people who came before us,
Mhm.
we have that same calling. So Resources like knowing your identity, number one. Number two, tapping into the proper resources. Like God has the word, and the word of God is great, but God also put people in this world for us to be able to tap into. So
Come on.
using the right discernment and knowing, you know what, I need to open my mouth at a certain point and really tap into these people that are around me. And even Jesus had a Judas, you know?
Right.
So at the end of the day, we all are like, man, I'm talking about myself, man. I don't know who I want to talk to. Somebody might put my business out there. Da 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 da. Guess what? A Judas, this is the thing. The paranoia that we let ourselves live with and makes us want to just clam up and not reach out to anyone for help. Like, you got to understand that Judas betrayed Jesus. That was a moment. But prior to that, Judas was rolling with Jesus. Judas was one of the apostles who was rolling with Jesus.
Good, bro.
So Judas had a moment, and guess what? We all have Judas moments when it comes to Jesus too.
Yeah.
We all have moments where we backstab Jesus. So the thing is, for people who are feeling like, well, no, whatever I'm afflicted with right now, I have to go through this by myself. You better not go through that by yourself,
Right.
because if Jesus didn't go through his trials by himself, then you and I don't need to go through ours by ourselves. And there are people who might have the wrong intentions and the wrong motives, but you best believe that there's people who have the right intentions. And how you gonna know unless you try? So that's my thing. So understanding your identity, reclaiming your true identity if you're going through depression right now, understanding and tapping into the resources, aka the people that have been placed here to be able to help us on our journey. And the last thing I would say to help anyone, single mothers or young Black men that's going through depression right now, I would say I need a good one. Let's see what really helped me. The third thing that really helped me. Oh man, I used to really struggle with this. I didn't feel like I deserved to be happy, so I got away from. So I got that, yeah, bro. I got away from doing the things that brought me joy, man. The things that give me goosebumps, bro. The simple things that I know for David Augustine Jr., it's like, bro, I'm really happy when I'm playing basketball or when I'm able to have talks with my grandpa, or when I'm able to hang out with this homie and we go and do this. And I started depriving myself of, I'm really happy when I get cookies and cream ice cream. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm really happy. And I started to deprive myself of that because I didn't feel like I deserved to feel happy in those moments. And you got to remember that you do deserve to still be happy, and you deserve to experience the things that God provided around us that bring us joy. So don't forget that. Yeah.
Bro, that's good, man.
Yeah.
I mean, even in that moment of realizing, I think my wife and I, we've had that conversation about Judas, and we've had our own experiences. But I think that like, one thing I told my wife was that Judas was a very important part of Jesus' story. A very important part of Jesus' story. There, I mean, and Jesus knew it. Like, Jesus knew it. That's the reason why it was okay to have the kiss. That's why Jesus kept him close. It's like Jesus knew you are a very important part of my story. And without the Judas, you really don't have the continuation of the story. So I agree with that, man, especially that last piece you mentioned, David, about not believing that you deserve to be happy. I don't know. Man, I did this 75 hard program, bro. Out of 6 things I'm supposed to do, working out twice a day, gallon of water, all that kind of stuff. Out of 6 things that I was supposed to do, the one thing I could not do was take a progress picture of myself. That's just looking at myself in the mirror and taking a picture, because I had so much self-hatred. And I just gotten to that point where I didn't feel as though I deserved to be happy. I was trying to keep my wife happy. I was trying to keep my kids happy. I was trying to keep everybody at the church happy. I was trying to keep everybody happy, but I'm pissed off. Like, I'm mad as hell. I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to go anywhere. If I am with friends, I can't really be myself, because I'm always trying to figure out, well, y'all okay? Y'all okay? Y'all okay? And it was never about doing anything that was just about me. Because I felt like in the church, you're selfish. If you want to do something for you, you selfish. You want to go fishing for you, you selfish. You want to be by yourself, you selfish. Why you want to be alone? You should be serving. Then on top of that, being a pastor, it was like, you really selfish, because you're supposed to be helping somebody right now. You should be at a home going. You should be, praying over somebody at the hospital. So it was like trying to find those things for me because I enjoyed them was hard. So, bro, I appreciate you saying that. I really do appreciate you saying it. I also appreciate you being on here with me, man. I feel like we need to have some more conversations because I ain't really get into the whole part where I'm trying to figure out who that special lady right now, because I know at least 3,500 of them who trying to get with you, David.
Good man, yeah. You funny, bro. You got to, that's an off the podcast talk.
That's all the podcast talk. Okay, we're gonna end it right here, y'all. Hey, I appreciate you, David, being with me. Hey, yo, y'all, to be honest, man, make sure you share this with your friends. Make sure you subscribe. I appreciate y'all. I love y'all to life. Thank y'all for subscribing to your #1 podcast. To be honest, y'all dope. Appreciate y'all.